Welcome, welcome to Planning Fake It, episode 136. Tonight, we're going to be talking about Nickel City League, kind of a little bit of a preview, an overview. We got 1 week till we go live with the league. So I thought it'd be fun to kind of talk a little bit about why JJ decided to give up being a captain and why he did not want to be on a team with me and Alex any longer. So yeah, we're going to talk a little bit of shit about JJ tonight. And if that isn't enough, we're also going to do a deep dive into First Order to talk about that faction as we continue our Road to Worlds discussion for our Academy 101 segment. With that being said, why don't I bring in my co-host for tonight? Please welcome to the screen JJ, still a Lions fan, no matter what traitorous hat he has on, because that hat is worthless tonight. Welcome to the show, JJ.
What's going on, everybody? Excited to talk some X-Wing and go over the Nickel City League. It's going to be the biggest and probably the best season so far for the Nickel City League. I'm excited for it to start.
Yeah. Also joining me is the bench warmer himself, Mr. Alex. How are you tonight, sir?
Oh, I'm doing okay. Didn't do anything crazy this week and mostly just caught up on sleep, so maybe I'll be awake for this one.
Hey, there you go. Well, happy Valentine's Day to anybody who celebrates, and if you don't celebrate, happy Self-Indulgence Day. So whichever day you celebrate, you can pick which it is. We had a pretty lax Valentine's Day. The wife had bowling league that she was in. So the day before we went out and went bowling and had dinner and stuff like that. It's different when you have kids now, really. So, but yeah, so we had a pretty relaxed weekend as well. Played a lot of Star Wars Unlimited. Started prepping some new lists for Separatists that we didn't even talk about last week. And like now I kind of feel dumb because like there's a couple of lists I was like, oh, this list kind of makes sense, like a little bit better than maybe some of the stuff that we had talked about, but it is still CIS. But I got drafted into CIS if you didn't know. So I spent a little bit of time messing around, playing me some online X-Wing this weekend. Anyone else do anything amazing this week?
Well, again, I definitely had a good Valentine's Day with the wife here. She ended up getting me a PS5 for our Valentine's/anniversary. So excited to finally get that and jump on PS5 finally once that comes in, and I've been testing out CIS as well like this whole last week. Just going back to an old list that I had that I've been trying to like really tinker on. And just kind of deciding between Cad Bane, Volandas, and T81 as one of the 4-point options in this list, and got to try out Volandas today. Was able to get a pretty nice dream shot against a Kylo Silencer that got tracted by Sunfac and was also strained by Volandas, and managed to wipe it out in that one round there. So it was pretty good. This is probably like my first attempt to like really make Volandas work in the list, and I like it so far. But it definitely needs to get more reps in before I can like really decide what's going to be the default loadout for it. As of right now, I have him equipped with elusive and shield upgrade. Just make him a little more defensive, and I want him to be engaging at like 1 versus 1, and go from there and see how it does.
If only he had a second talent slot, right?
I know, amazing. Like Predator and Marksmanship or some of that.
Yeah. All right. Well, that seems fun. Next week we will be having a Sith Taker update. So Sith Takers, if you did not know, is next week, and we will be probably covering that because that's probably going to be the first tournament that's actually like a really decent sized tournament that we've seen in X-Wing for the year. Like I don't think any other X-Wing tournament has had over 130 people show up to it. I could be wrong, but I don't think so. So they're going to have their X-Wing tournament, and they're going to be using BOE points. So all the new points upgrades and everything. So it'll be fun to kind of see. It might be our only large scale tournament that we're going to get to see some points at. We might get some even new lists out of it. I don't know. It might be kind of cool to get some new lists. I doubt we'll see that much. I could tell you we will see Jendon. There will be Jendon lists, but it'll be interesting to see how well Jendon does going into the meta, and it'll be interesting to see if people run Han. Because the way the Sith Takers do it is they actually put together like a really decent prize package, so it's not just stuff that you can win to go to Worlds and stuff like that that we've seen before. They actually have a whole slew of awesome stuff coming out for it. So, with that being said, do we have any other updates? I don't think we have any other updates. Nothing of any major consequence. Other than the Giants will lose. I'm going to predict the Giants will be worse than the Lions next year. So,
no, so far the only thing we're just looking forward to right now is just Draft League that starts up the week after Sith Take Open. We got quite a lot of teams. I mean, we got a total of 20 teams there all set up with all these like a star-studded draft like amount of players that are participating in this particular event. So it's going to be definitely one of the best leagues that we've seen to date.
All right, well, let's jump into Nickel City League. So just if you don't know who Nickel City is, we'll have a link in our description for you to find them on Discord. But essentially, it's like a Discord that I joined, I don't know, 2 years ago now, like right when we started. How long have we been doing this podcast? Almost 2 years?
2 years, yep.
So about the time we started doing the podcast is when I joined the Nickel City Discord. And then I believe I've been in every one of the leagues, haven't I? I think I have.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I think I played in the very first league and there was 30 of us, 36 of us or something like that.
Yeah.
And now we grown to 20 teams of 8 each or 7 each, so we've got like 140 to roughly 160 players playing in the league this year. So it's pretty crazy. That's a lot of people comparatively. And this is season 5. So essentially it's 2 months and then a month for playoffs. And then we have like a month or 2 off between seasons, and then we keep coming back. And we've expanded it. And the way that the league works is they have a draft style. So there's a captain. You get drafted into a faction. You get to play. You could change your list, but you get to play the faction every single week, no matter what it is. And then they do pairings based on home and away. And you get paired up into a scenario and versus an opponent team. So, for example, the Degens is what I'm on, or the Degenerates, and we face the Ascendancy. And the Ascendancy is home, so they'll get to pick, who we fight. Then you set a time and you hopefully stream your game. This is a lot of games, so yeah, I'll work with JJ. Maybe we'll pick up a day or something like that we'll stream on that maybe Nick isn't streaming. Once we get through Worlds, I think up until Worlds, there's a lot of time that will be spent. But we'll try and pick up some games and go from there. And I think it'll be fun. All 3 of us are playing, and none of us are a captain this year. So I will say JJ decided to fold the team. They are now the Maulers, is what they became. Yeah. I don't even remember who the captain is for the Maulers. But what I do know is JJ said, "Hey guys, I don't feel comfortable hanging out with you anymore. Therefore, I'm gonna banish the team, and I'm not gonna be on a team with you guys anymore because I don't believe in you."
Hey, according to the press conference from last week, my contract was renewed to be a captain, for the next season. And even though we had a playoff run, they felt they wanted to go in a different direction and rebrand, move to a new city, and go from there. But you can only do as well as the you can only do as much as your as the GM will let you do, and just go from there.
Fair enough. So, Alex, this will be your second season with the league?
Yes. Yeah, I joined last season, and, JJ drafted me onto your guys' team, and that was fun. And now I'm on a completely different team with a bunch of people I don't know. So that's cool.
Yeah. So I think it's crazy. 20 teams. And I think Greg only had 3 people not show up. There was 3 people that they replaced on the teams. Because the first one, so who was the first one that they got? Because I know Joe Churchman was on the reserve. Who else was on there? Oh, Funwalk was on the reserve. And there was another person that was on the reserve, and I can't remember his name off the top of my head because Greg took him off the reserve list, so now I don't have it anymore.
Cody's contemplating joining for next season too.
He should. I mean, we could make like a team for Michigan, just Team Michigan. I mean, we could attempt to do that. I can't guarantee.
We can definitely win more than the Pistons this season.
Yes.
Hey, we won 8 games. Okay, we played 52, but we won 8.
I want to know who the other. And you could tell him if he wants, he can always join the reserve list because there's a high probability that
there'll be a few drops.
There'll be a few drops after the first season.
He just wants to know where he's going to get drafted. Honestly, I don't think he cares about playing.
Oh, well, he's got to join the Discord and be a little bit active to do it. So I don't know. The only person I have on the reserve is Funwalk, so I don't know who the other person was. But I know Funwalk got drafted to the Rave Crab Champions, and then Joe Churchman got drafted and moved on to the Degenerates onto my team. And it's funny because Joe Churchman normally flies Scum and he has to fly first order. And I don't know if he flies first order or not.
We'll get to that when we talk about my team. I can tell you.
Yeah, so
Staniszewski joined as well. I believe this is his first time this league.
Yes. Yeah, I believe he was the number 2 draft pick.
Yeah, I believe he was second overall, which is exciting.
Yeah.
I believe he was drafted. Oh, who did he get drafted to? I don't recall. Because him and Grauberg were talking about it. Wolfpack. Yeah, he was drafted Wolfpack.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is that's a terrifying team, right? So that's in your league, right, JJ?
Yes.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So.
Oh, that's right. I forgot I put that in there. Yeah, let's go over that first before. Let's break down the leagues. I didn't even think I forgot about that. So I don't know what the Mike and Carol means. I don't understand that. So we have 4 divisions that we're in, correct?
The Brady Bunch.
Yeah, okay, but what does Mike mean? What is that? I don't.
So the big division is broken down into. I'm sorry, the big conference, the Mike conference, is broken into 2 divisions, and then 4 teams in each division for that compete in that particular conference, and then eventually, when we get to the playoffs, the best of each conference will face off each other in the final.
Yeah. So. Right now, obviously, everybody's tied because we haven't played any games, and we have a whole week to do practice and prep for it. So, so I am on the Degenerate. So I'm in with the Mauler. So I'm in basically our old conference, I'm guessing. And I don't know how Greg decides conferences, to be honest with you. So, I don't know if it's random or how he decides it.
Yeah, I think he picks just fun names every season, and then just assigns them to it, just in random order.
Yeah, so we have 4 divisions, the Marcia, Jan, and Cindy and Alice division. I'm in the Alice division. JJ is in the Marcia division. And
Marcia.
Alex is in the Jan division. So and we can go over teams. So this is kind of what the ascendancy is, and I guess I should fix that so everybody can see the screen. But I don't know. So I guess we don't have to spend a million hours on it. But is there anything that shocks you about this specific team? So Dread Champ obviously is the one working on it. It's worse.
Yeah, I mean, he was last year's, or the Ascendancy was last year's champion. They got their first championship win last season, and they did definitely some really good trades in the offseason there. Now, what's interesting is that there are a lot of people that actually gave up first round draft picks in order to get more consecutive picks closer together in lower rounds in second or third rounds, and I think that definitely makes a big difference when you're trying to when you're trying to get your group of people that you want. Now, the trade-off is that, yeah, you might lose off on the one person that you really wanted to, but in exchange for having that guaranteed 2 picks back to back, it's a really big thing. Now, part of the draft league was a captain's draft, which allowed the captains to pick their position, as this is a snake draft. So first pick in the first round would go last in the second round, and then again first again in the third round. So when you're trying to wait essentially 40 picks before you get to your second one, having that trade in order for you to guarantee the picks in between is a very, very big deal, or at least get them closer together. So definitely a lot of strategy involved when you're trying to make those deals and trades in order for you to have a more advantageous rounds for your team.
Serpentine drafts are real tricky to like, because you really don't want like the first like 3 picks or so, because in X-Wing it's not like there's like a Michael Jordan like superstar franchise player kind of thing going in.
Mm-hmm.
Especially because like you can't hold the first round picks, right? Because you have to.
Yeah, exactly.
You can't retain anyone in the first round, so it's like.
Yeah, exactly.
Ooh.
Yeah, all your picks have to be, if you're carrying over a team member from the previous season, they can only be from the second round pick or below, and then you give up a pick of a round higher for the following season. So if you hang on to a second round pick, you're giving up a first round pick. So it's and at the position that your team would have normally had it. So it's definitely a big ask.
Yeah, so it's like it's kind of rough having like early, so you really want to like trade down or trade up on the next kind of thing, because you if there's 20 people, right, you take pick number 1 and then your other pick is pick 21.
Yeah.
So it's you really no, it's not pick 21. Pick 21 goes with
it's
pick
41.
20. Yeah, it's 41. Yeah. So like you got a whole swath of people that you're missing out on. Also, man, Ascendancy, their first pick was second round, right? 26th. They got Daniel Lim. How did he drop to 26? What's wrong with you guys?
Yeah.
All right. So the next one is the Berserkers. Berserkers are ran by Chris Jenner. I did not know his name was some guy named Chris on TTS or on Discord. I thought it was Wookie Chris, but so they have one less player. Is that what they have?
So there's some trades that some people gave up one of their picks to get a higher pick, like they gave away their 6th or 5th round pick to another team to have 7 picks, and then at the end of the draft, the team with 7 or more players would give up, or that has an additional player would give up one of their players over to that team, and then they would just fill out whatever spot they would have left.
So who's going to be running Separatist in that faction? Because I don't have anyone listed.
I'm
Probably
not sure, but I'm
Jenner
pretty sure
himself, right?
Yeah, most likely. Yeah.
Yeah, what does happen? I don't know what happens.
So the team that they trade their pick to gets that person or that team gets to send one of their extra players over to that team to fill it out to make sure that all the teams are even.
I gotcha.
Yeah.
You know what I'm happy for? I'm happy that they broke up the Sith Acres so that they're not all on the same.
Yeah.
That would have been crazy. So that's kind of the Berserkers. What's the next one that we have? We have the Coruscant Wanderers. That one's headed up by Brendo. Brendo ended up with 4 first round picks somehow. I have no idea how he got 4 first round picks.
I mean, that is some finagling there, right? Having 4 first round picks. I mean, that also means that they have a very high bar to to its reach, right? Because you have that many first round picks, and you're pretty much getting the bulk of your team to like right off the bat there. Pretty much you're getting whoever you want. So if they don't make playoffs, man, I mean, talk about a major blunder. Like they just got to do it.
Yeah. Ooh, yeah. I mean, that's scary.
I mean, yeah, you take a look at the people that he drafted. I mean, man, this is a star-studded cast here. It's definitely going to be they're definitely going to be a tough team to beat.
Yeah, Dom Flanagan, Aurelian.
Yeah.
The Chancellor. Nova Titan. That's fair. Shout out Nova Titan. He's from Michigan.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's Key. Actually, I've been meaning to reach out to Key. I haven't seen him at locals in a while, so I'm glad to see he still is on the thing. It's hilarious he's playing Republic because I don't think he's ever played Republic before. So.
Yeah. That's kind of what happens when you're like one of the later picks, is like you're kind of stuck on a faction that you may not have any experience with. So you just hope that when it comes to the reshaking of all the factions and the team, that you get something that you want.
Well, and I think it will depend. See, Coruscant is in my division. Right. So I think it'll kind of depend. I don't know if teams are going to flip them all or not. So I guess
it has to be a unanimous vote at that point for the team in order for them to switch factions. So if everybody agrees, then they'll flip, and then everybody has to switch factions at that point.
All right. The next team is the team I'm on, the Degenerates, or as we like to call them, the D-Gens from up north. So I'm on a team with Pim and Utini. So we got Louis from the guy that provides all the prize support for X-Wing, I swear. And then I got drafted into CIS. So there's that. I get to play CIS. I think this is the 4th season I played CIS. Maybe the 5th season. Did I play for CIS the first season? I can't remember. Yeah, okay, so I played it every season.
So here's the thing, right? Like, so when you made your draft card, did you put that as your first pick?
I didn't make a draft card, so I just did the little.
You see, there you go. You're known as a CIS player, so that's why. If you made a draft card, then maybe they would have picked you for something else. But yeah,
I made a draft card, and for the second year in a row, I got my 3rd pick.
Yeah.
Well, the first one was JJ's fault. We could blame JJ.
Hey, I sent you to Scum afterwards. Yeah,
no, you didn't. You sent me to Resistance.
No, I'm talking about Chris. Yeah, and I did send you to Resistance.
Yeah. Yes, I got sent to. I got sent to Scum after that. That was fun. So that was before the Scum fallout. But so I don't know. It's exciting. Some of the things I like about this style of team is you get to meet other people that you normally don't interact with on a daily basis. So the irony is on my team, there's only only our captain is the only other person. So we have like a CIS Discord that we're in. And so like I didn't post it because so Liam goes, "Hey, who else is on the NCX League that's in here?" And then I didn't post anything, and Michael taps me and goes, "Yeah, I drafted Tanner and he's in here." I was like, "Damn it!" Everybody knows I'm in here because I'm usually the quiet one for the most part in the Discord. So, but yeah, so it's kind of funny because I think Dom. So there's Dom, Liam, me, Chris, Crispy, and I don't know where FaZe got drafted. We'll have to find out in a few minutes where FaZe got drafted, because so far all of us that are in that CIS Discord, besides Crispy, and I don't know if Crispy picked CIS or not. I don't think he did. I think he picked Empire, but all the rest of us, like, we all got drafted as CIS players. So it's kind of funny.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I chose CIS as my number one pick for this season. I've been Empire, Rebels, Resistance, or not Resistance, Republic. So I wanted to go down to CIS and give that a try this season here.
Yeah, well, it's because you kept drafting me, and that was your problem.
Yeah, and despite people trying to sabotage my preferences on the spreadsheet.
All right, I won't admit or deny that I changed all of JJ's preferences to Resistance.
And that's why I made a draft card, because of that the shenanigans.
But he caught it. I didn't look the day of draft. I made the change, and I've looked like every week at that draft board that Greg had us create, just to see if you didn't figure it out for forever. So like, I'm just saying, like, you could have been a Resistance player.
I could have.
So Firebirds, Andre Paris, Big John. He is essentially in charge of the Firebirds. I think he took over for Nick last year, if I remember right.
Yeah, correct.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And he's the one that got Mark. So he ended up drafting Mark to kind of separate out us Michigan crew people here. So
yeah.
Shout out Mark Wahlberg.
Hilariously enough, he didn't draft Nick Sperry.
Yeah, he did not. That's very true.
And Chacho's on Firebirds. So I get to see him there.
Yeah,
they're in my division, so I'm just like, hey, I don't think Mark Roberts ever beat me in X-Wing. Just pair me up with him, whatever.
And shout out to Pat Stinson. He's a former teammate of ours, actually for 2 seasons, and he did really, really well. And I'm hoping that he does really well this season. And he's in Scum, so he's not going to have an easy road this season.
Scum's easy
to lose.
All right, moving over to 5 straight boost. We got Mike Shively running that. Chose the Empire. I don't know who Ethan Williams is off the top of my head. There's a couple of these people I don't think were on Draft League last year.
But they got Andrew Boldock, who is a monster. I mean, he's won I think 3 different store championships this past season. He's a very, very good player. Definitely really a really good contender for the team.
Yeah. So I it's fine. It's funny. I feel bad for Brian, man. I hope you like Scum, because you were one of the last picks to Scum.
Yeah.
But this team, Michael also got 2 first-round picks, it looks like, being able to put people in there. So
yeah.
All right. Next up is the Foxes. We should have Catherine on the show one of these times. That's what we should do. We should have Catherine on the show. That would be fun. Yeah. Catherine drafting Kester again. So good old Kes Smith getting drafted. I think Catherine's drafted Kes I don't know, 2 seasons in a row now. 3? Yeah. Is it 3 now? A local from our area, Brendan, is playing on the Foxes as well, drafted into Empire.
Man, so they have Alex Oler. Oh my god.
Yeah. Yeah. She wanted to get him as soon as the fact that Alex Oler made it to the 3rd round without being drafted, and she picked it up midway through the rounds. That was a steal for the Foxes, man.
I don't think that was 3rd round, buddy.
Oh, I'm sorry, 4th round. 4th round.
No, 2nd round.
No.
Was he 2nd round? He's picked 60. Oh, sorry, no. 30. Yeah. He's picked 30. Yeah.
Still, that's the middle of the 2nd round.
Yeah, middle of the 2nd round. Yeah. I mean, jeez.
Yeah.
And Solvin, who I see very frequently on Discords.
Yeah, Foxes has a very, very solid team all the way down, and I think that they're definitely going to be another year where they're going to be a solid top team with really great talent there.
And there we have Crispy wimping out and taking Empire, not taking CIS this year. Giving CIS to Jane. Jane's also a local of ours. There's FaZe, and they drafted FaZe into Empire, and FaZe is in our CIS Discord, but it's kind of funny. They also had a 1st round, 2nd round pick close together, able to pick up Daniel Athey, and then they also have,
I think they retained Mark Packer Hughes, right?
Yeah.
Because he's phenomenal, man. I had to play him twice last season because JJ kept pairing me up with him.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, back to back. Yeah,
I think he's won also 2 or 3 store champs.
Yeah,
and he's in his good faction of Resistance. Ooh. He's the first person I've seen run like Swarm Tactics LO. So
yeah.
Well, we'll have to make sure we reach out to Crispy and tell him to pair him against you every time. We gotta keep the tradition going, baby. Tom Veal, he's got his team Hot Shots. They also are down a player. No CIS for that faction or for that team. A little silly, but no CIS.
Yeah. And he picked up Chris Black, who's a former teammate of ours from last season. He was a sub that came in, and he did Rebels for us for the last few weeks of the season, and he did really, really well. Chris Black is a great player, so glad to see him come up again for this season and see how well he's going to do.
Yeah, he was a really nice guy. He was fun to play game. All right, now we're on to KDB. We got Will Scott in there, picking Republic, of course, because I think that's the faction he has ran for like 3 years now. So hopefully he's not running Sicko. Hopefully you're not running Sicko, Scott. He picked up Andrew Block and stuck him in CIS, gave Andrew Block CIS for his first round pick. Which is funny because Andrew, I wonder if Andrew requested that, because I think Andrew has played Empire in like everything. Yeah. So you gotta be kind of sick of playing Empire after a while, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, he wanted a rest. Yeah,
or a challenge.
Yeah,
one of the two. No Rebel player for them.
Yeah, that's what I was looking at. I was like, I didn't see a Rebel player list on them, but they got 2 Republic players, which is odd. So
I wonder if that's a mistake. If he's supposed to be.
Well, they're down a person, right? Because there's only 7 instead of 8.
Oh, fair. Yeah.
So they could be either someone added or they're.
Yeah.
Guy. Yeah. Why can't
Most likely, yeah.
Yeah. Captain. That's what I'm thinking of.
All right. Now we move on to the Maulers. Gypsy Gambit taking that on. Jonathan taking the team over from JJ after JJ was fired and they had to move the team to save the disgrace.
The disgrace of making it to playoffs. Yes.
No. Not the disgrace of making it to playoffs. The disgrace of us having to have a Star Killer name instead of a Thrawn name, for fuck's sake.
Dude, I tried, man. I tried.
I remember Alex texting me and going, Are we some like half-rate 2-bit person from some video game? I thought we were like
are we the team. Dude from The Force Unleashed who pulled that Star Destroyer into the planet?
Yes, that's exactly who it was. I mean, it was easily the best logo of the season. I mean, come on.
It would have been cooler if it's Thrawn, though. You're killing me with this non-Thrawn stuff. All right. I
don't know anyone on this team.
I don't know. Did we have? I don't think we had anybody on here.
Their names I recognize from last season. I don't remember how they did last season, but I know Gypsy Gambit is a good player, and Rory Wilson also another decent player as well from last season that actually did pretty well. I want to say Garrett Plattner is another person that I played with probably outside of the league, like just playing like GSP pickup games. But yeah, I'm definitely interested to see how they'll do this season.
So in an effort, did they get 3 first-round pick or 2 first-round picks and then like a top second-round pick just to spite you? Is that why? Like, holy crap! They also had a whole bunch of picks. Top.
Yeah,
it's like 1 first round and then like 2 really close second rounds, and then
close like fifth rounds. It looks like
and that nothing for like 100 people.
They went out to dinner, came back, and still had time to pick.
All right, moving on to the meat bags.
Yeah.
Teddy Roosevelt with this one. Alex's team looks like I know that guy. I know Alex.
That's true.
And they got Viper Optics. He was on our team last year too.
He was on our team last year, yeah.
Viper. Yeah, he was my first round pick last year. He's absolutely great player there. Charlie Sherman making this team as well. He was a big, like probably one of the most improved players I've seen from last season, and I got to say I'm actually a little fearful now to see how much he's improved, man. I mean, he had a hell of a win streak last year, and or last season, and man, he's going to be a force to be reckoned with this season.
Yeah, I mean, we got Doug Howe. Didn't draft him in first order, but that's fine. Doug Howe.
And part is like first order, just no shields, you know.
Yeah. Unfortunately, Sherman taking my scum slot. But, you know, it's fine. We're brewing up some lists together. We showed him the wonder that is our 4B11 because he was running around with dorsal turret on Lima just to spite
Dorsal
me.
turret. Nice.
Yeah, no, it's cool. I'm in Republic again.
I mean, it could be worse. You could be in Resistance, right?
I would love to be in Resistance. That's my second faction. That's probably what I'm bringing to Worlds.
Yeah.
All right, moving on to the Mega Milk Union, and I gotta say, so Ryan, and he even like looks a little bit like the part, and I don't know why it is because he lives with his brother, right? His brother plays. I don't know. Did he draft his brother?
No. Mm-mm.
He did not draft his brother. Oh my god.
Oh no, he did. My bad. I just didn't see him. Yeah.
And the what's hilarious? Like, okay, I don't. Does any of you watch It's Always Sunny?
Yes.
They just remind me of the guys, the Milk Brothers from It's Always Sunny.
Yeah.
Like, and I can never find the damn meme when I need it. Like for it. But every time I hear the Mega Milk Union, and then they have the two brothers that are on the Mega Milk, all I hear in my head is just, you know, like
McBoils.
Yep, the McBoils, and it's just like, would you like some milk? Ugh, crazy, right? So,
Yeah.
So Mega Milk is the one that got Mr. Nick Sperry, gave him Empire. It'll be fun. They also picked up Jeremy Bell, who's also he played on our team, didn't he? He played on the very first team I was on, actually, because I played with him. Saw him at Worlds last year, so hopefully he comes back to Worlds this year.
Yeah.
Who's next? Who's after the Mega Milk Union? So many bloody teams. Moncala, Crabs. Are they still the Crabs?
The Seafood Consortium. Yes.
Yeah. Nick Miller heading this team up. Nick Miller foregoing First Order and moving into Empire. Hopefully that's not a predictor of what's to come. No first round picks, but 3, 4, 5 second round picks. He had 5 second round picks almost all in a row too.
Yeah,
third round picks.
Third round picks, sorry.
Yeah. And this is where, you know, having the strength of having all your picks all like put all together like really helps, because you can like pick a selection of players that haven't been picked all, you know, back to back, and create the team that you want. And here you can clearly see, you know, their selection paying off here, you know, being able to get Travis Johansson, getting Miguel Justiano, getting Peter Rose, all of them.
Johansson.
Yeah,
I love him. We played at Worlds. It was crazy.
Yeah. So it was definitely a gamble will pay off, and I expect good things out of Moncala this season.
All right. Next up is NJO, the New Jedi Order. Is that what it is? Or New Jedi World Order?
New Jedi Order, yeah.
Taking over this year is Kat, Crispy Sister, taking First Order as her pick over Scum. Usually she plays Scum, but picking up First Order, picking up Connor Holmes and Liam Baker.
You know, just two, you know, two decent X-Wing players, right?
Yeah. And here's where you're talking about that stake draft piece, right? Like being able to pick up, you know, you're coming at the end of the first round picks, but then you get like a top. You're able to come in for second round picks, and because we have such a big league, there's all sorts of people in there. Rich Polly's also got drafted into there. Crazy. Liam playing CIS, of course. Good job, Liam. So hopefully we don't all steal your list.
Yeah, right.
That's in they're in my conference as well, so that's going to be real interesting.
Yeah, nice to see Cat taking over, so that the league can stay on, given the fact that JJ can't, continue ever doing anything. Moving on to Order 66. Andrew Oler did not pick his brother for the first round. So, Catherine was able to pick his brother out, but got Cam Murray and Levi.
So, it's a small consolation prize there.
Yeah.
This team is also very, very scary.
Yeah, they do have quite a few players there that have done very, very well, and they're definitely going to be a tough team to match up with. And that goes to speak to like the league in itself, right? Just having all these great X-wing players come in together to play on these in a team format, in the league format. Definitely makes it very, very entertaining to see, which team is going to come out on top, because you can have a great game by yourself, but ultimately it does depend on the rest of your team also winning their games as well. So it's going to be a great season.
I like how Andrew Oler, who went 5-0 or whatever with my scum list, that he messaged me and he's like, yeah, I took your scum list, chased some upgrades around, and did super well at the tournament. And you have Cam Murray, and neither of them are taking scum.
Yeah, didn't we drafted Cam Murray 2 seasons ago, and I think he bitched at you for a month because you didn't put him in scum.
Yeah.
Because you gave me scum originally. That's why.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
And then he was then he was having to give me he's given that to giving me all sorts of pointers shit about it, and then I took that to Gen Con a couple years ago. I don't know. I like scum. Don't tell Charles. I used to give Charles a lot of shit for that. Don't tell Charles. All right. Next up on the list is the Outlaws, ran by GSP's own James Ritter, picking Obi-Wan, the guy that 100% always gets paired into me. I've played Obi-Wan more than I played Alex. I'm dead serious. I'm 100% serious. Between online leagues and in person, I've played Obi-Wan more times than I played Alex.
Yeah, he's a great, great player. I have had the privilege to be on the same team with him for XCC. We were on Team US Islands, and we had a blast, just practicing against each other, just playing games, practice matches. He is a fantastic player. Can't wait to see what he does this season. But man, James did a pretty good job of drafting this season. I mean, being able to pick him up, being able to pick up Colin Miner and Darren McNally also as well. Warren Gaming Dad doing better this season from last season as well. You got definitely some solid players for that team. They're going to do good.
Yeah, it's funny. We have all of the. Does Will play in this year? We haven't come across Will
Yes.
yet.
Yes.
Will is, but he wasn't drafted by James.
Okay.
I know, right? The disrespect.
I thought it was.
Well, they didn't draft Stanny either, so there you go.
Well, I mean, Stanny was number 2, so he couldn't really do anything.
All right.
And there you go.
Now we got Lou in here. Lou's got
a very terrifying team. Sorry.
Yeah.
Lou with the Rave Crab Champions, which I genuinely just don't like that name. No offense, Lou, if you listen to this. I like you as a person. I hate your team name with the passion. I don't know why. I genuinely don't know why. I don't. But Lou coming back. This is his fourth season as captain, right? No, is it his 5th season as captain?
Fourth will be his 4th. Yeah.
Picking up Joey Springle, drafting Joey into Resistance, probably smart choice. Seeing as Joel just loves his Resistance, the passion. Also picked up Will Hagwood, putting Will in Empire. Will, don't run that list you ran against me in Empire. That was not a good list.
What did you play? Just out of curiosity.
I don't remember. It was something I'd have to look it up. I don't remember off the top of my head, but let's just put it this way: CIS beat that. So I don't know what to tell you. That probably shouldn't happen, but
well, I mean, he's got new Battle of Endor pilots and stuff to do, so I'm sure he's going to be play testing that before World. So
yeah. Those 3 TIE fighters.
Yeah, exactly.
Also, Desi, shout out to Desi.
Yeah,
Desi
right?
got picked up.
Desi.
Flying Republic, which is funny because that's what he's flying. So I talked to Desi. Desi's flying
all those Etas still.
Yeah, that's what he's taking the world.
Yeah.
At least that's what he told me he's taking the world. I don't know if I believe Desi or not, but that's what Desi told me he's taking the world. And I was like, all right. He's like, I'll either burn bright or burn fast. One of the two.
Yeah.
So yeah. So Sandy also getting drafted in there.
Yeah.
Hey, that's crazy too.
This is a crazy team.
I know. I mean, and these were like, they had some pretty good some draft picks, right? Because you had like the late first round and then early second round, and then got quite a few back to back there. So yeah, just another masterful job at trading and getting the players that you want.
Next one we got is Shadowcasters. JJ getting drafted in there. Jammin, Mr. Ben Jammin, running that team. JJ getting in there, running CIS because never could before.
So I mean, it's been a minute since I've actively played like CIS there, but I got a few lists that I'm really excited to play off the season here. Actually, right before this season, me and Jammin were together on the 312 League, on the same team as part of Team Psychedelic Pina Jam, and we've had a great time in that league there. So excited to be playing again with Jammin this season.
I know. You know what's funny is they didn't pair you and I up to play against each other.
I got know, paired man.
Up with Jammin, so I was like, no, give me JJ.
What do you think of that scum list? His scum list.
Well, I thought it was decent. How about that? I'll tell you what. For a scum list, I think it's good. But
yeah, he's done very, very well with that scum list. Yeah, I'm excited to see how well does at Worlds.
Yeah. Also, you got Matt March on your team.
Yeah, Matt March. He's I think this is the 3rd season I've played with him so far, being on the same team. So excited to get Matt on the team again.
Yeah. Last team we have is the Wolf Pack, ran by Sevwall. Sevwall taking over. I think Jane ran this last year. She did. I think she did. Yeah.
Sounds right. Yeah.
Yeah. Getting first round, basically almost the first round pick. Getting Staniszewski there and Noah.
Yeah,
picking up
Noah.
2 first rounds with Noah and Staniszewski.
Yep, definitely a solid team here. You got Ryan Staniszewski, who's a fantastic player playing Resistance. He's the person who's been pioneering that Ferrosphere paint loadout. Although I don't know if it's going to be. Yeah, I was going to say it got nerfed just recently, so we'll see what Stanny comes up with.
He's back on the Kaz train again, you know.
Hey, yeah,
Kaz.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, definitely still a fairly competitive team here. So they're definitely going to be a team to watch this season.
Yeah, and I believe we have Matt and Darren and Joe on our team at one point?
Yes. Yeah, I believe so. Yeah.
All right. If not, I played with them with
definitely Matt and definitely in Darren. Yeah.
I thought we did, but I can't remember anymore. So I'm getting old, JJ. I'm getting old.
I'm about to hit 40 this year, man. I feel you.
Yeah. So that's our coverage for the NCX. We'll go through updates, I think, each week. The statistic wise is probably not the most statistically sound thing that we can look at. But I do think if we see some interesting lists, so that's what I'll challenge you guys is if you see some interesting lists that kind of get played on stream that we should probably talk about, let's bring them up. Like, I think they're worth having that discussion about some interesting lists that we see. But we'll be covering NCX. So next week we won't cover NCX, but starting the week after that, we can actually start NCX coverage, even if it's just quick updates and
Yeah,
and stuff like that.
The biggest thing I'm really excited to see is really the new Battle Vendor list for Rebels and Empire to see how well they do. This is going to be a lot of people's training grounds to test out a lot of those lists, and we'll probably get to see a very early preview of what we're going to see for the meta for Rebels and Empire for coming up to Worlds.
Makes sense. Anything else, Alex? You have anything else for NCX?
No, I'm excited. I'll have to brew up some really random degenerate Republic shit. I don't even know. So it's going to be interesting.
Yeah.
Contemplating bringing a 7th Fleet lat. As no one should ever do that.
Yeah.
Just remember the good old days. It'd be fun.
Back in the day. All right.
Rocking every turn. What's wrong with that? I give myself double mods.
Only if you could only fit it on an arc, right?
Gross. Arcs. Who plays arcs?
You, but you play that oddball arc. Everybody plays oddball.
I don't. I play oddball Y-wing like a champion. I don't know. I can play oddball arc, or I can have a double-bodied proton torpedo, which makes more sense in your mind.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, you can't born for this, and you have less health, but still, double-modded proton torpedo. I mean,
I got 5 copies of dedicated.
Yeah, that's true.
And we know how they trigger for you, Alex. So you should stop running them.
Sorry, it's only four dedicateds. I only trigger it 5 times a turn. Every turn, it's fine.
All right. Well, why don't we move into our Worlds prep? So we've been doing a series. If you haven't joined us before and you're new to the show, we are doing a series where we essentially go through every faction. We kind of talk about what are the popular lists, what's the most valuable pieces that you can have, and what are you going to be seeing if you either choose to fly the faction, or if you have to fly against it, what are you going to see? So I threw in an extra graphic I did today, folks. So oh, that was a mistake. So I threw in an extra faction. Hold on, it'll come up here in a second. There we go. You want a forced ranked best and worst? I'll tell you what, fine. I'll JJ can do that. JJ and Alex can do that next week. That's what we can do. There you guys go. You give your hot takes on what's the best ranked teams. All right, so let's move it on. Worlds prep, first order, baby. So what I did is I threw a new graphic in here. What I wanted to do, a couple new graphics. What I want to do is what's the chassis distribution like at first order? They don't have a lot of choices. It is interesting though. We do get to see there's some bombers creeping in here, right? Getting some bombers, and then we're also getting the do I can I just call it the Terex ship? Like, do I have to actually name the ship? Because like
that's the Z class.
Gideon.
It's the Gideon or the Terex ship. That's what it is. It's not anything else. But it's interesting seeing them creep up a little bit into our statistics here. The biggest, in my opinion, the biggest interesting thing is this silencer piece is only 41%. And maybe that's because not everybody's running triple silencer like Cody is. But seeing more silencers seems to be kind of the take that I would have. First looking at first order is, why are you not running a silencer of some sort? But obviously the most taken ship is the FO, like TIE. Is it a TIE IN? Yeah,
it's a TIE FO. It's just a TIE fighter.
So that's clearly the most taken ship, and then after that it's that Whisper, and we know it's only one pilot, maybe 2 that's really being taken. Though I was running Whirlwind for quite a while, but just it's not super fun to have to tether him. I then threw some of the top upgrades in here, right? And I did this by percentile, right? Instead of doing it by what's most taken. Tractor beam, I don't understand this. Why is tractor beam? Who's running tractor beam, folks? Who's running tractor beam in first order? And why does it have like one of the highest win rates in first order?
Gaelic can take it.
Yeah,
is that why?
I was gonna say Gaelic. Yeah,
pretty sure.
Are they
that's
really
the only time
doing
I've
it?
seen a tractor beam.
Yeah.
Is it worth?
I mean, he's an I5. I mean, he's an I5 pilot. So if you're running a bunch of I5s, which is fairly easy to do in FO, you can set up that tractor beam early with Gaelic, put him into the arc of the rest of your I5s, and then just completely pounce on that particular ship. So you're able to really like prioritize taking out a target that you absolutely need to take out, especially when you need to initially kill something. That's a really good tool to use.
All right. Fair enough. I guess not opposed to it. Just it's
was
just
a little
weird.
bit more popular a couple metas ago when Gaelic had a little bit more points, so you can actually have like Proud Tradition, tractor beam kind of thing going on.
And BioX,
yeah,
makes sense, I guess. Lone Wolf and Deuterium power cells are like some of the top two pieces for count wise. But Lone Wolf coming in there, and I think that makes kind of sense. You know, Lone Wolf, you're running a 4 to 5 ship list. That makes sense. First Order is not typically running 6 ships all the time. A little surprised to see Heightened Perception in there too. I don't know why you're running Heightened Perception on Kylo, but it's a choice you can make. I don't know. I don't typically Kylo is one of the later pieces I lose if I lose Kylo. So I'm little weirded out by that. Crack shot proton torpedoes, also top calls, and then obviously barrage rockets because you got one ship that can take barrage rockets. Therefore, it's always taken.
What I'm drawing a blank. What ship is normally taking crack shot?
What ship is only taking crack shot? There isn't any ship that's only taking crack shot.
Like I'm just trying to think of the pilot or chassis that's.
I run crack shot on Midnight.
Yep, you can run it on Midnight. DT, okay. DT it fits on if you don't take Turian power cells.
Gotcha.
It's not like a terrible call if you're going for like a whisper or something, but generally you want something better. But yeah, like, I run my Midnight with crack shot.
That's fair. Okay.
I mean, because Midnight's got 7 loadout points, so crack shot's only 4 of them, so you still have 3 points to dick around with, right? So like,
like a targeting computer or something.
Not a targeting computer.
Or sorry, not sorry, target synchronizer, I believe.
Yes, you could do that.
Could be wrong. Yeah.
Yes, targeting synchronizer is a popular choice. Because you could run targeting synchronizer, you can run fanatical, and you can run Proud Tradition on Midnight. Or if you'd rather have a little bit more of the like aggro offense, you can run that crack shot. Just crack shot with Midnight, depending on how you use Midnight, crack shot can be extremely useful because it's an I6 and it shoots before a lot of them. So like it's really good mid game tech for Midnight, like really, really good. Because they can't mod their dice if you target lock them. So you bullseye them, you target lock them and bullseye them. And then you crack shot one in, and if they only roll 1 evade, they're taking all 2 to 3 dice of damage that you're throwing in there.
All by 2 hits.
You roll hit crit all the time.
Also, Midnight dies. People will actually go after Midnight and stuff, especially if you're just taking a lock off rip and have no green tokens to back it up. So, like a one-off crack shot isn't like a terrible investment.
No. Again, still very surprised to see this heightened perception, though. I am confused by that. But anyway, we'll keep moving on. We'll look at squads, right? So we do squads in 2 different ways. We look at by count, what's the most taken. We also look at the ones by the percentile. So we'll start with by the count. So the highest taken squad that's a BA, right? That's what that is. So that's a BA. So that's Von Reg. We'll just state it's Von Reg and Kylo, and then 2 FOs and 1 SF.
Yeah, the most common one, kind of by far, is Von Reg, Malorus, Midnight, Lahuse, and Kylo. It's 2 I6s and 3 I5s.
Yeah, and we'll come back to that in a minute and kind of look at that as well. The next most popular list is probably the one I run the most, and that is 2 FOs, a SF, and then a silencer and Kylo. After that, we have 2 SFs and Kylo and 2 FOs, which that one I have not seen as much. So I'm actually kind of intrigued. They must be running. Is it Phasma or Backdraft? You think is the most popular one in that?
Quick draw.
Quick draw. That's
quick
right.
Quick draw, LaHughes, Kylo,
Yep.
Malorus, Midnight.
Yeah.
So now that way you get your higher I6s in there. Gotcha.
Get your double I6, triple I5 again.
Yep. After that, we got 2 Whispers. The other one probably being Wrath. Possibly could be. Could it? Because you can run Quick Draw right alongside Whirlwind, but it's probably Wrath is probably the more popular.
Actually, Whirlwind, which is crazy.
Whirlwind. That's only Whirlwind in that.
It's list. Kylo Whirlwind. There's one instance of Wrath.
Oh, that's weird. That's weird.
Which is nuts to me.
That is weird.
Yeah. Because that means you're taking the I3 or you're tethering your Whirlwind to Quick Draw, and Quick Draw's running squat or whatever. I don't know. Swarm Tactics. Thank you for saving me, guys, on that one. The next one is even more interesting. Is Kylo, right, in the Whisper, and then I'm assuming that's all FOs, 3 or 5 FOs. Because you can't fit an SF in there.
Yeah, so it would be Gaelic, DT, Scorch, Midnight, and golly, what's the other one? Midnight. No, Gaelic.
Malorus, Gaelic, Midnight, DT,
Malorus,
Scorch, Kylo.
Yeah.
Yep. After that, we have Silencer, Kylo Silencer, probably SF, and then 2 FOs. Then we have Cody's list, which is probably ran by 3 people, Cody being one of them, and then like 3 other people that tried
Cody
to attempt
accounting for a vast majority of it, and some other people spattering about. Yeah,
so most of those are Cody. After that, then we have 2 Whispers, an SF, a Scorch, which is I think the only one. I mean, I guess you could run Grudge, but I think people are taking Scorch, and then Malorus. After that, you have a Silencer, a Von Reg, is my guess is a Silencer and a Von Reg, and then 2 FOs. Has that got to be 2 FOs?
No, it's Kylo, Quick Draw, Von Reg, Malorus.
Yeah.
Or sometimes Midnight. So you can have triple I6 and Kylo. But typically it's between the 2, Quick Draw, Malorus, Von Reg, Kylo, or Quick Draw, Midnight, Von Reg, Kylo. Just really high initiative.
Yeah.
I'm a little surprised we haven't seen more of that. That must be what Crispy was running on and off. After that, we have then a kind of the smattering again. We have a SF, an FO, a Bomber, Kylo, and I'm guessing Von Reg is probably the other one in there. Most people are not taking Hollow if you can run Von Reg.
So tragic.
Well, if Hollow was an I6, maybe Hollow would be taken more. All right, now if we look at squads by percentile, right? This is crazy, and I got rid of all the small samples, but the top one we have the crazy ship, which I'm guessing is Gideon.
Yeah.
Because you would not take Terex in that list. Not in the ship, at least.
Yeah, it's probably Gideon. Although I would say that there is also room for Malorus as well.
No.
Instead of running around the FO. Just for the rerolls, right? It's still an I5 shuttle that can coordinate and you get rerolls. But yeah, it's most likely Gideon. Yeah.
I don't think that's
Malorus. You get that's the strain you won, right? The strain for reroll a blank.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Oh.
And you have to do it if you're close. So, like, it's not. I don't believe it's a may. I believe it's a must.
Yeah,
it is a must.
It is a must.
Which is rough.
Yeah. I mean, if they die before they can shoot, it's not too bad. But yeah, it is rough.
But that's one of the higher. That is one of the highest percentile ones, but it does have a very low frequency rate to it. Same with the next one. The next one's the kind of the bombers, the Kylo, the SF, Von Reg. But then we have our second instance. This is the second instance. Then we have the Gideon ship coming back again, like as one of the top contenders. And again, I think we'll get into more of the ships in the list here in a minute. But that's crazy, right? Like that's twice that we've seen that ship, and and it comes in at number 10 as well. I don't think we've reported on that ship winning anything. So now I want to know what the hell that ship won that it's doing that well.
I think Gideon's pretty underrated, honestly. Like I think he's a solid 4 points.
Are you giving away a little bit of the show there, Alex? Is that something we're going to talk about here in a few minutes?
I mean, if we ever bring it up, that's just no. I think it depends on like what you're composing your squad of, but like he's a solid 4 point option. But also, it's really awkward to build like with 4 points in FO because they don't have like a 2 point ship, so it ends up getting a little bit weird with what you build around because most of their really good power pieces are 3s and 5s costing.
Yeah. Yep. Excuse me. The next list we have is, again, we're seeing Scorch coming back, Silencer and Scorch. I'm assuming that's Kylo in the Silencer. And then the Hughes, and then two FOs. Then we have the Cody list. We'll just call it. Are we just allowed to call that the Cody list?
Yeah.
That was okay. I'm sorry. Before the Cody list, we have the wannabe Cody list with the Von Reg, which, by the way, Cody did run that. I don't want to hear shit. Cody did run that.
He ran it for one tournament.
I'm just saying he did run it, and he was testing out Von Reg, and Von Reg just
4 games
dies. Nah, he was playing it a little bit before that to test it.
Mm-mm.
But that Von Reg just, especially in that list, that list setting gets eaten alive. Then we have the Cody list, and then after that, we have the 2 common ones that we've kind of seen. The next 3 are the ones we've already kind of gone over. And then again, at the bottom, we have... That's an SF? No. So that's 2 FOs, a Silencer, a Whisper, and then Gideon. So... moving on to ships, and then we'll kind of get into more of like a breakdown of some of the compositions, right? So Malorus is by far the top ship taken. 561 instances of Malorus taken. Kylo is the second most ship taken, and then Midnight is after that. And it's kind of funny if you look at win rate, Midnight goes down a little bit, I think, in the win rate, but I think that's because more people could take Midnight in a bunch of other lists. Then you have Lil Hughes, Von Reg, Quick Draw, and somehow Blackout's underneath Quick Draw. I don't understand how, but Blackout has almost the same amount of instances, has almost the same win rate, but is not as easy to kill, in my opinion, unless you just roll a bunch of blanks. Scorch, Gaelic, and DT798. Now let's see. Ignore the count. Let's see by percentile. Rush shows up. This got to be because of Cody. Like Cody's like
that ever brings Rush.
Damn it, Cody! Stop ruining my statistics. So there's Rush at the top of the percentile mark. Wrath right underneath them, and then Von Reg over Kylo. Von Reg over Kylo. Can you believe that, Alex? Like
over Silent or Whisper Kylo?
Over
I guess both Kylos.
It's over both of them. But definitely over, it's even over the Whisper Kylo. I can't believe Von Reg made it over Whisper Kylo. Maybe that's just because you take Whisper Kylo in more lists that don't have Von Reg. That's probably why. Yeah. DT798, the Hughes. What is DT798's real name? What's his name?
Zucklin.
No. Rucklin. Thank you.
Yeah.
I just watched that stupid show, so I should know that. Malorus again, and Kylo, Lieutenant Gaelic, and Midnight. So essentially almost the same, minus the fact that we have Rush and Wrath. And Rush, we could 100% just we could just say that that's all due to Cody. Thanks, Cody, for making that for us.
I think it's almost no. Well, there's like 4 people here that aren't Cody that's played this ever with Rush. So it's all in one archetype, though. It's all triple silencers and Malorus. It's literally the only time anyone has brought Rush.
Yeah. So Gideon shows up down here, and I think we should cover Gideon first because I think Gideon's new. Gideon's something that's not part of what we've seen in our typical meta, right? Like, I don't know if this is more of a European thing, or if we just aren't seeing people take them, but I don't think we have covered a Gideon at all in the last season, right?
No, not that I can recall readily.
Pretty sure we have.
Have we? Okay. Well,
Yeah.
we'll find out in just a second. So essentially, what we're seeing is here's some of the wins. Well, Gabe is 2 of those. Maui took 4th. There you go. Maui was running it. That's crazy. I did not know Maui ran first order. So a lot of what we're seeing is in the early times. That's kind of what we're seeing, right?
Gideon did kind of drop off popularity for a while.
Yeah, and in fairness, I did used to run it a little bit before, but that was kind of I don't know, that was kind of not the thing I would have thought. And then we see different build outs. So Alex, what does Gideon do? Let's just talk about that to begin with.
Okay, so this Gideon in the side shuttle, this is an I4. I'm not sure if you guys know the stat line, but it's a 2 attack, 2 defense, 5 hull, 2 shield. Got a focus, red lock, unless you're the new side shuttle lady. She has a white one for some reason. Tyranny. Red lock, red coordinate, white jam. While you or a friendly small ship at range 0 to 2 performs a primary attack against a damaged defender, if the attacker rolled 2 or fewer attack dice, you may gain 1 strain to roll 1 additional attack die. Works well if you have a bunch of like TIE fighters in your list. Like if your Malorus already shot all of her munitions, or Midnight's not getting shot at. Unfortunately, it's usually mid-game because it has to be a damaged defender. But it does apply to Gideon himself, and that's a very important thing. That's a huge part of it.
The other big part of it too is just making is the timing of his ability too, right? Because you can roll your 2 dice, see what your results are, and then decide whether or not you want to roll that 3rd die or that additional die. It could end up being 4 dice possibly, and go from there. So if you have like a really bad blank out and you have no other mods to go there, you can opt not to use his ability and then just let it roll blank.
So let's talk a little bit about Gideon, because Gideon is not super offensive, right? So Desi in the chat points out that everything is hyper offensive, but Xi shuttles are not. Z shuttles, whatever you want to call them. So if we look at just these first 2 lists, well, they're the exact same list. So we look at the second 2 lists, right? One of them is the Perceptive Co-Pilot Pattern Analyzer, Fanatical. One of them is Terex, Tactical Officer, and Pattern Analyzer. So I'm assuming
that's my preferred Gideon.
Which one? Which one is
Terex, Tactical Officer, Pattern Analyzer.
Yep. So I'm assuming that the reason that is popular, and we'll get to the rest of the list in a minute, because they are using Von Reg and they're using the cluster missile Malorus. But if we have less firepower, Gideon with Tactical Officer makes more sense, right? Because you're able to do the coordinate, plus Terex gives you the calculate. Once you get through your calculates, you now got a jam. What would be the advantage of running Perceptive Co-Pilot? Is it just because you think you're going to get shot all the time, therefore you have the 2 focuses?
Yeah, that's the only thing I can think of. I mean, I feel like Terex is kind of just like an auto-include because you're giving calculates out and then possibly passing jam tokens. Like at range 3, jam token transfers, not just the range 1 or 2 in bullseye. So
yes, it's very good at that. Yes. It can say screw you to a Luke more times than you can imagine. So the question I have then, right? Like in that case, do you take like the Terex specifically so you can use a jam, right? Like, is that why? I mean, the tactical officer, I can understand if you wanted to swap that out for something else, but tech officer is only 3 points, right?
Mm-hmm.
So really, what are you going to take? You're going to take Proud Tradition. You're not going to take Predator. You're going to take maybe a Proud Tradition, maybe a Fanatical, I guess. Like, I don't know if you need that though.
Yeah, I mean, you can do like Proud Traditions, so you can get that double action with Pattern Analyzer and have like a targeting computer, so you actually get a white target lock. That's not a bad use of 3 points.
Yeah.
I just like having Tactical Officer because Terex can give you a calculate token. Like, just give it to yourself, right? And then you can still coordinate and still have like a mod or defense or whatever.
Yeah,
and
or jam.
And your coordinates no longer red, right? So like I think that's the important part is that you then aren't kind of like tied into this like it coordinating. So like in the first one, you must not be coordinating anybody. Though, like to be honest with you, in the first list, I would be looking at coordinating. I would want to coordinate the midnights of the list, right? Like I would want to coordinate midnight with the ability to do other things that is not just specifically target lock, especially if you put crack shot. Let's say you go with the crack shot version, giving midnight a target lock focus seems pretty bloody good, like to me.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of like you just can't slap Gideon in like a typical ish FO list. That's kind of the hard part is like you actually have to build something around like utilizing Gideon and kind of stuff. So it's difficult to like consider building around things because the shuttle isn't like great. Like it's solid for 4 points, but as Desi pointed out, there's a lot of offense in this meta, and there's only so far two agility or one agility if he uses ability on himself can get you just being like a pure support ship.
And do you think in FO you can afford to have a support ship?
It really depends on what kind of list you're bringing, right?
Yeah.
Like you can't run like even in the list that we play, right? That's like Midnight and Malorus and LeHughes, Kylo, Blackout. Like it seems kind of weird to replace LeHughes with Gideon, even though they're the same points. It just wouldn't work as well, I think. Even though that might be one of the better, easier lists for him to slot right into.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
So go ahead. Sorry, JJ. Go ahead.
What does it say? The other part too, right? It's just like tailoring your list to scenarios that you feel that you might be lacking in. Especially when you're facing off against like Republic, that usually carries some type of arcs. Having another medium base in there to help you contest objectives does help you out in those cases. So you might sacrifice a little bit of firepower in order for you to have that big body out there that can also jam and coordinate and give out calculate tokens when you need. It's definitely a support utility piece there for the First Order that can fit into that slot in exchange for that offense. I mean, there are times where you could get potentially that big shot out of Gideon, if you set it up correctly, but that's not his main purpose. Its main purpose there is to be in those objective points, either grabbing a crate or contesting assault objectives or setting up a scramble action for one of the higher initiative aces by coordinating them early, so that way they can have a token and that way they can scramble on their turn. So it makes the list a little more versatile, but obviously the win rate for it is not the best. So I think people just tend to go for the more offensive version with all the other ships, and it seems to be working out for them.
So I have a question though, right? So when we talk about offensive output, right? So like Malorus with clusters, obviously you can have a double shot, you can have double mods. I personally feel Magpulse is a better missile for him to take, but that's just my opinion. The question I have is could you get rid of Midnight in this list and go to DT 798, right? Could we go to Jace? because if we go to Jace, it gives us, we can have the 3 die shots. It's an I4. Outside of Arcless, you're not taking as many shots after I4. So is that something that could possibly help the offense in that list?
Yeah, I think so.
And what if we moved around Von Reg and put Blackout back in, or Rush, or somebody else into that position? So Rush is at low initiative, but then Rush becomes an I6 once he loses 2 shields, right? So like, would a Rush or a Blackout also be a positive impact? Because I mean, I'll tell you how many times I would love to have a double modded Procket shot. Like, I love those. Those are the best. Very rarely, if I take a target lock at range, does an opponent let me set up a double modded Procket shot, though. Usually they go, no, you can't have it. But then I'm just taking a range 1 double modded shot. So I mean, it's not quite as good, but almost as good. So the question I have is, could you do that? Like, does Von Reg provide enough offensive output, or should we be swapping a few other pieces in there to put with Gideon Hask? And I know, Alex, you already kind of said that list could work with the Hughes and that in there.
I'm still not a fan of Von Reg.
All right,
I'd rather have Rush or Blackout.
Would you think that would help with the offensive output of that list? Because I think that's what the concern is you have Gideon and then you have Midnight, right? And Midnight doesn't roll a lot of dice unless you stick Midnight right into the fight. And if you do, you have to be very careful, because Midnight could die pretty quickly if he gets a lot of shots on him, right?
Well, you get coordinated from Gideon, right? So you can coordinate like an evade and then target lock someone with Midnight.
Okay.
I actually sent a list out to Redwards that had Gideon, and it was Malorus, Blackout, Rush, Gideon, and Gaelic. Gaelic, which is like an HLC for just a little bit extra firepower over like Midnight. It's 3 dice against a damaged enemy with Gideon, or 4 die bullseye. It's kind of scary for a 3-point ship, and then they're all most of them are I5, then you get Gideon at 4 and Rush at 2. But I think just I like Gideon, and I like silencers, and silencers love having even more actions because they just do a lot of work. So I that's in the kind of an interesting FO list that I would try out, or maybe Midnight over Gaelic. I'm just worried a little bit about the offensive firepower, because you're already sacrificing a little bit with a mag pulse on Malorus.
Yeah. So here we have kind of some of the build outs for it. So the higher win rate one versus your average pilot is the Terrax Pattern Analyzer Attack Officer, which I think we know. I don't think that's really a big thing. You can do the biohex codes and sensor buoy instead of pattern analyzer, which I think is an interesting trade. But I just feel the issue I have with sensor buoys is you have to either place all the obstacles on your side, so that way they can't just nuke them turn 1. Like, as I could tell you how many times I've done that, and somebody, like, here comes somebody in, and what they'll do is they'll just see that sensor buoy, and boom, there's like, let me throw 3 dice at it and hope I get something.
That's why you put them in the obstacles so they get 4 dice.
Yeah, but even then, no focus.
You got 2 all 4 dice, man. I don't know what else you want. They're a 4-point upgrade.
That's why I don't think that's the proper change up. I will say sensor buoys is an interesting thing, especially if you were to put in like a Scorch bomber. Like, that might be kind of an interesting thing that we haven't thought of. I don't know if that Scorch bomber is worth it. We could talk about that in a few minutes if you want.
I mean, the sensor buoy is actually kind of funny because you can lock someone and then like biohex crypt them, jam them at like range beyond 3 that you acquired off the sensor buoys. So it's silly, but
I mean, honestly, I like to jam off of sensor buoy too. Sometimes you just absolutely need to jam somebody to prevent like a torp launch or something.
Yeah.
But yeah.
No, I mean, if you think about it, Gideon then gives you the second jam in your list, right? Because you have Kylo, and now you can have Gideon. So it can give you like, I think jamming in this meta, I think FO gets a little bit is a little bit underrated because the jamming is the jamming can be very powerful.
They jam better than any other faction.
Yeah. And I think, I think the sad thing is to get multiple jams in a list, you have to take another silencer you don't want to take, other than Wrath. Wrath is still a pretty decent silencer to take, or not silencer, Whisper to take. But this will give you that option, right? So it is kind of an interesting take, I think. So, ironically enough, and no, I did not look at this before we talked about it, Blackout has the best squad mate to go with Gideon. Just saying. Just throwing that out there. Not that we want to go through what the loadout is, but as a squad mate, it has the highest percentile. It increases it well over Von Reg. So it's funny, Von Reg shows up better than Kylo, and I would 100% take Kylo over Von Reg every day.
Yeah, exactly.
I'd take Rush over both of them.
Yeah.
Legitimately, I'd rather have Rush than Von Reg or Silencer Kylo when I'm bringing Gideon. Just you need more offense.
Yeah.
All right. Well, why don't we go back? We could probably not go further into Kylo or into Gideon. So what is the next? What do we want to talk about next? Do we want to go into? Do we want to talk about Rush next? Is that worth even having a conversation about? Do you feel Rush is an underrated pilot, Alex? How about
that? Absolutely. People should bring more Rush. Rush is fantastic. Rush is almost better than Blackout. It really depends on your playstyle, though.
All right, so let's talk about Rush. Obviously, this is Cody's name doesn't show up in here, by the way, unless he's got some weird name.
It's actually just slightly lower. It's like those guys, and then it's just Cody from then on.
Okay. All right.
But yes, Optics Fanatical Predator is super legit. Like that's what you should be taking. The I2 is a feature because 1, you get to block people, and 2, you know if you're going to use optics or not because you are probably shooting last. So if you held down on that focus token, that's an automatic hit. And then Fanatical and Predator are just super good when you're an I6, right? You get a reroll and a free focus conversion. And if you're not getting shot at, you have optics, so you're just bringing 3 to 4 hits every time.
So the question becomes: is do you feel Rush is a substitute out for Blackout?
That's a tough call, honestly. It really depends on like how good you are at flying low initiative ships, right? And silencers in general. Like Blackout's a little bit more forgiving. You're going to get spike damage off Blackout. Because presumably you're taking a procket. Or if not, shoot through a rock. Mm-hmm. But it's an I5 on one of the best chassis in the game. Still really strong. If you're good at flying I2s and you're good at blocking things or closing off lanes, or you're just good at flanking, Rush will provide more consistent damage than Blackout.
So here, the sad thing is we don't have a good sample size of lists with Rush in it. Everything is just the Cody list. Like everything in here is a Cody list.
Yeah, literally the only time anyone ever brought Rush was after Blackout and Kylo. Yes,
and everybody has the exact same thing. Kylo and Malorus are the high squad mates. Blackout and then Kylo Silencer are lower. So, do we feel the Kylo Silencer is lower because we don't have a 2-point option, right? So you cannot technically take Silencer Kylo and split him into Kylo and another ship.
Yeah.
Like you can split them into 2 ships. You could do that because you could have like Hughes, right? You could have Gideon and then another 3-pointer, but you cannot take him and still have Kylo and split him, right?
Right.
So the question becomes: Is that why Blackout shows lower in that list? I mean, because you can run Vonreg. Where's my Vonreg in this list? But you can't take the Kylo, the Whisper Kylo, the cheap Kylo, and put them in the list with Rush. Or is it just because we don't have statistics for it? Is that why? Because nobody else put statistics in here because everybody's running the Cody list.
Yeah, I mean, it's just the very small samples, right? Is when you get the other people, because you got, well, that's Cody again playing the Vonreg, but like, no, you got one instance here of Vonreg, Blackout, Rush, and Whisper Kylo. So they're all fives. You got one instance of like Midnight Scorch, Backdraft, Blackout, Rush. So in cases where you're not playing Kylo Silencer, you might just be doing it wrong. And therefore Kylo has a Silencer has a higher win rate than just people also just taking a second Silencer that's just not named Blackout.
Fair enough. So the next question, and we could probably move on. Like, where would you slot him in to other lists, right? Like, if you have to take two silencers, we already had that conversation where you could take the one, but or if you only take one silencer, but if you take two silencers, right? Or if you're like, is there another list? Could you run Rush with some more FO style flying? Because you could run Rush and Kylo together, right? And that's 12 points, and you still have 8 points to work with. You could still put two FOs and an SF.
Yeah.
No, you can't.
No.
You could take two SFs, which seems bad. So you wouldn't do that.
Yeah, I mean, I guess you could take like Hughes and Ember or something. But that just seems worse than just taking Malorus and Blackout. And then you just have Cody's list. You could if you don't need the jam, or if you're not good with bullseyes or something, you can just swap Rush in for like a Whisper Kylo. It's people are look at you weird. They upgraded a Kylo in FO. But like that's not a bad swap, I guess, if you're running Vonreg in your list and you want an i6 eventually. Rush, you can also straight swap for Vonreg.
I mean, because in one of the lists you could run, if you get rid of Kylo Whisper, you could run Rush and Blackout together.
Yeah. I mean, the more silencers, the better, honestly. Blackout and Rush seem like a solid start for half your list in FO. The only problem is that not having a 2-pointer makes it really awkward because you're not bringing like 2 4s and a 2. It's more of like 2 3s and a 4.
Yeah.
And that's
which at that point, awkward. I mean, you could still bring in Lieutenant Gaelic, you can still bring in Malorus, and then your 4-pointer could be like
Hughes.
Yeah, like Hughes. So you still got
Gideon.
You still got a lot of high initiative. That I5 that can go in and be very consistent on offense there, and you have that potential for Rush to climb up and be an I6 there later on in the game. So it's definitely still a very valid archetype. I think a lot of people just tend to focus a lot on including Kylo in the list, like as an automatic, and it's understandable. I mean, especially Whisper Kylo having 3 force, that's a very, very good stat line for having passive mods on there and being an I5 that can jam and still mod. So I see why people always put them in automatically, but when you take them out of the equation, you can add more ships in there, and you might be it's unexplored territory really, because we haven't seen anybody really do that, make a non-Kylo list viable in the faction. So there is potential there for that list to do good. So
I mean, if you think about it this way, and maybe this is just me being silly, but if we had a 2.0 FO, if we had Revis back, right, you could run Blackout and Rush together, and then the Hughes and Gideon and Revis, right? And like I think that would be like me saying, hey, I can afford to not run Kylo in that type of a list, I think. So going back to this archetype, right? So this is we call this the Cody archetype because he's the only one I've really seen run it until recently. So the question is this a recommended archetype, right? Like it showed up really high. Is this really a recommended archetype?
Man, Cody's been playing this for like 4 years, right? So it's hard to like this list just takes a lot of practice. It's an incredibly strong list. Like Tanner, I know you've seen and played against Cody when he's playing this list, right?
More times than I care to.
Yeah, I mean,
so
it's a high ceiling. Yeah.
Good. Yeah, in the hands of someone who's good, he's been running it for 4 years, so like he plays this in his sleep. But actually on Off Meta podcast with the one with Duncan Howard, towards the end, he mentioned that if he was running like a pure aces list, it would be this triple silencer Malorus, and he called out like Cody's list by name. And then he also said Cody would beat him in a tournament with it because he's been playing it for a lot longer. But like, if you're running like a pure good AC list, this is what I would say to run. You just have to know when to disengage correctly because Cody will shoot you once and then he's just going to 5 straight. Like that's the secret. You just 5 straight away and cycle in the rest of the silencers to do the rest of the work. And like you'd expect it to kind of suffer in some objectives, but really it doesn't. Salvage is a little bit iffy, but like you have crit generation, like you have mag pulse, you have marksmanship, you have proton torpedoes. You can get crits through, and like they can still hit the button and do like a booster roll. It's not nearly as bad in objectives like as you would think by looking at the list for being a 4-ship list.
Fair enough. Let's move on from this list here. I think we've talked about this list. I think the next one we go to is Whisper Kylo, right? Like I think we talked about Whisper Kylo being the bomb to some extent, right? And if you're not going to run Silencer Kylo, you should probably be running Whisper Kylo. Though I will say his win rate is not as hefty as what you would like, right?
Mm-hmm.
Being that it's barely over the 50 percentile. I don't know, like we could talk for the rest of the podcast just on Kylo, I think. Right. And I don't know if that's beneficial to the show because I think Kylo is just included in absolutely everything. Right. So I think what we could do is talk about loadouts quickly and then kind of move on from there.
Mm-hmm.
So the common one is Brilliant Evasion, Malice, Pattern Analyzer, Predator. That's the one common one, right? Because that is what I would call the aggro one.
Mm-hmm.
And then if you combined all these other ones that have concussion missiles in them, that's like kind of your next set.
Well, the most popular one is the Optics, Brilliant Evasion, Concussion Missile, Instinctive Aim. Just slightly below it. It's actually a lot more than the Malice, Predator.
Ah, there it is.
But like those are kind of like the two very most popular ones, right? You're either running the Optics, Concussion Missile, Instinctive Aim version, or you're going for the I'm just going to straight bullseye you to death, Malice, Predator, Pattern Analyzer. But man, people love those Brilliant Evasions.
They do. They're their favorite. So Alex, we're gonna say, why don't we get rid of Brilliant Evasion? What 2 points do you take in either list?
I mean, I usually go with Fanatical.
Yeah, Fanatical, easy.
There is a case for like Proud, especially if you have optics, right? So you can still do a red maneuver and get your focus that you can mod for optics. But man, it's really devastating if your opponent remembers that they can just trigger proud. Proud.
But
So
even
the
then,
whole-
right? That means that Kylo can either boost into a jam or just take an evade token at that point, right? If you end up with a red focus, it doesn't really hurt Kylo as much as the other ships that don't have, focus mods.
Yeah, but you can't like focus jam, and that's rough. Sorry.
Yeah,
Especially if you have optics.
Yeah, and I think the question becomes, right, is in the more aggro one, you cannot put Proud Tradition in there. You don't have the talent space because you have Predator.
Yeah.
You could dump Predator. I don't know why you would. If you're going to go for bullseyes, you should definitely not get rid of Predator. That's just my opinion.
Yeah.
But and like that was like so in that list, so in that one, what do you get rid of for Brilliant Evasion? Because you don't have another talent slot. Kylo's not lucky enough to get 2 talent slots. He's not like, oh, I'm going to be the best pilot in this one, unfortunately. So what else would you take? Like, I know we've shat all over Brilliant Evasion more than one time. I know this for a fact. But what else are you going to take?
In the pattern analyzer, I mean, you can drop it down to 1 point and have sensor scramblers, right?
Yeah.
You think that's better than having the
pattern analyzer? Never mind, you can't do that. I forgot the jamming suite takes up a tech slot. Never mind. I'm wrong. Yeah, I mean, I guess Brilliant Evasion. I mean, you can take Patience.
Oh, can't take Patience. It's light side.
Right, and you can take both.
Yeah, he can take both. You could take Patience. Yes, 100%.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever noticed.
He's the only pilot that can take good and light and dark side.
Well,
so now,
Anakin, but yeah,
I have a question. Could you dump? So if you get rid of Malice, right? Do you feel Malice is a must take? That's the first question I have.
I don't think it's a must take. No. Mm-mm. It really depends on your skill level with getting bullseyes, right? If you're the type of player that doesn't feel confident in getting bullseyes reliably, in order for you to constantly get those 3-die attacks, a lot of people tend to lean on the instinctive aim optics combo with Kylo, because that gives you, it's a lot more forgiving. In order for you to instinctive aim a concussion missile, you'll still, assuming this is your first shot, you would still have 2 force and a focus mod to help you modify that 3-die attack, and you're able to get that off more reliably, even when you're shooting out the rear of Kylo. Right, with that there, you have a lot more time on target. You still have that 3-die attack that's more readily available, versus you trying to be more aggressive with Kylo. And the pitfall being very aggressive with Kylo is that if you end up bumping, you're not able to get that jam action off, which essentially helps Kylo survive. Being able to get that extra die at attack when being attacked or defending, rather, helps Kylo survive more readily than while you're trying to be aggressive with the bullseye, versus taking your time, taking those range 3 shots, and going away. It's definitely up to the player's preference on how they like to approach a combat or an engagement with Kylo. But typically, if you're not very confident with that bullseye, I think going with the instinctive aim over Malice is preferred.
All right. Now hear me out. What if we took these 2 and combined them, and you move concussion missiles down? So you're going to get, unless we feel Malice is a must in your aggro build, right? So like we have a missile build and an aggro build. What if we don't feel Malice is a must? What if you took and you put you left the Predator, you left the pattern analyzer, and you took either Mag Pulse or Cluster, which I would probably lean towards the Mag Pulse personally, to replace the Malice, and then went with the instinctive aim? Do we feel that if you combine the 2, it gives you enough aggro and enough missiles? Because if you did cluster missiles, you can shoot them out your ass, and you can do the other. right? You could do what you want with it. I just don't think cluster missiles is what you would do on a Kylo, because he doesn't always want to be range 1 and 2 of everybody. But you could put the mag pulse and shoot mag pulse out your butt too, and then you have your instinctive aim. Do we feel that that's, if you could, can you combine and have an aggro bullseye Kylo and a missile Kylo?
It's definitely an interesting concept to use mag pulse for Kylo, especially as a utility there. Um, I think that it very much depends on the rest of your list, on what you have equipped on the rest of your list. Like if you already have 2 other mag pulse carriers, then probably not. I'll probably go with clusters. But if I only have like just Malorus with mag pulse, then yeah, I would definitely consider having Kylo with that mag pulse there.
I also think like the jamming is really huge on
Yeah.
like that version of Kylo, and you don't have a lock link jam,
Yeah.
so it's kind of rough.
Instinctive aim, though, I mean,
Yeah,
not the best, not the best use of it, no, but it is an option. Yeah. Or if you go back to Malice and you're going for the Predator Malice shot, whatever, in the event that you don't have a bullseye or a way to get that third die, and you have Gideon Hask in your list, there's a possibility for you to just take a strain on Kylo to, roll that additional dice on that damaged defender. So there is that possibility there. Now, like having a strain on Kylo is probably not the best idea, but that is an option if you're looking to go very, very aggressive. So,
All right, we look at the pairings. Pairing it with Wrath seems pretty good. It seems like I'm a little confused by that, but that Kylo likes the other Wrath, and maybe it's just because this is a double jam.
Double jam.
Yeah. And crispy.
It's and mostly crispy.
As you can see, Gideon shows up in here. Nightfall somehow shows up in here. I don't know how Nightfall shows up. We haven't talked about Nightfall at all. And no, I don't think Nightfall's for the points worth it when you could take Wrath.
Yeah, I think it just comes down to
Nightfall's 4, Wrath's 5.
It comes down to having that preference for like having extra jams on the list there. So it has this utility. It just really depends again on what you're trying to accomplish with your list.
All right. Anything else about Kylo Whisper before we move on to another ship?
Yep, let's go.
Do we need to talk about Malorus? Like, I don't know if we need. Do we need to really have a Malorus discussion?
No, not at all. With 4 points, the options are very, very limited, and you're either going to do clusters or you're going to do mag pulse. Mag pulse by far right now is probably the most popular option on Malorus. If there's a point change and Malorus gets more points or less points, then at that point, we might see Malorus fall out of favor if it gets less points. But still, overall, you're not seeing much change in Malorus right now.
See, the fun thing is cluster missiles is taken almost like a third of the more time. It is like over 100 more times cluster missile shows up. Mm-hmm. But it's at like a minus 1.65 percentage, and mag pulse is at a plus 3.82. So
an i5 mag pulse is very, very strong.
Yeah, look who's the best pair for Malorus. And again, we go Cody. Why are you ruining this for us?
Skewing results. Oh man.
But if you could fit that Kyle, and I don't know if you could fit that Kylo Silent Center in there, and I think this goes to, was it Doug Howe who ran the all the 3-point ships and Kylo? I think it was. I think Doug's.
It was. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there's an argument to be made about Kylo Silencer. Do we want to talk about Kylo Silencer? Is that something that people should be taking over Kylo Whisper?
So it depends on the loadout, right? Because the most common option right now is what proton torpedoes and sensor scramblers and
extreme maneuvers marksmanship. That's the one that Cody brings.
Yeah. And that's the other version of it too, right? Having that extreme maneuvers one. And honestly, they're both very viable options. Having that extreme maneuvers allows Kylo to do a 5 straight into a hard one boost, with the focus. That is really, really hard to pin down. It's a ship that can really get into the back of your formation really quickly and start doing a lot of damage there. Having that threat out there definitely makes your opponent try to focus down on that. And if you split your forces to try to pin down Kylo or engage the rest of the list that's coming at you, it's going to be a tough battle for you. So there's definitely a lot of different options for that silencer Kylo at 7 points that is a really good utility piece. On the minus side, not having an evade action on you really, really hurts, especially when you blank out on three defensive dice. So I mean, it's tough. And also, if you're using your force for extreme maneuvers and you still end up in somebody's arc and you don't have any other mods like later on after you attack, that can really leave your Kylo really vulnerable. So you do have to play it very smart in order for you to get maximum advantage of that Kylo.
And so I guess those are the two loadouts, right? The advanced optics, instinctive aim, lone wolf, protorps,
Yeah,
or extreme maneuvers, marksmanship, protorp, sensor scramblers.
yeah.
Is there an argument to be made to take the marksmanship and sensor scramblers and put them into something else, or no?
Now that sensor scramblers is so good.
Yeah, you need it in order for you to do the 7 straight. Or actually, it's an 8 straight, right? If you factor in the base,
It's a 9 if you factor in the base. This is 5.
it's a 9.
6,
That's right.
yeah.
The second time, yeah, you're right.
And then you can boost off of that.
Yeah.
So make it 11. There's your roll. But no,
Yeah.
I just sensor scramblers is really, really good to keep him where. I understand like the optics, instinctive aim, lone wolf is like what Doc Howe runs, and he's been doing really, really well with that. And that can hit if higher initiative stuff. Lone wolf gives you a nice reroll with that instinctive aim, so you're kind of getting some mods off of that. I just prefer the extreme maneuvers. It's just so disgusting on Kylo. Just doing like a 5 straight, 1 hard boost barrel roll just puts you places that you really shouldn't. You re-engage so much easier with Kylo when you have extreme maneuvers on there.
Yeah.
And his time on target is bonkers with extreme maneuvers.
Yeah, you basically never have to K-turn. You can just essentially do a 270-degree turn just with that extreme maneuvers boost.
All right, so we go back to the 4-point spot. The 4-point spot, if you have a 4-point spot, right? We talked about Gideon already. LeHughes, does LeHughes need much discussion? I don't like. There's only 2 versions of LeHughes you run, right? You're running barrage rockets,
or the pattern analyzer,
or the pattern analyzer. Yeah,
and they're both up there, as you can see. Like data wise, they're pretty. There's a reason why they're the standard ones, right? So,
yeah, and I think the difference between them, and I will say just from experience, right? Like the difference between the two is do you want something that's going to give you like a mini fire spray that allows you to shoot out the back, allows you to be a little bit more versatile, or do you want something that's going to be more objective based? Like to me, the barrage rocket one is a little bit more objective based, but I mean, being able to rotate focus is stupid. Like that's just amazing.
I don't know if the barrage rockets one would be more objective based, mainly because you do need that focus, right, to fire out the back there. I think you could be a lot more aggressive with the hard one
instead of a 3. I mean,
yeah. Well, in that you're denying, range bonuses if you happen to get that range 3, right? But having the pattern analyzer, proud tradition version, having access to that red heart one, if set up right, you can have a double modded shot with that, with special forces gunner bringing up to 3 dice. That's definitely probably a preferred shot over barrage rockets if you're shooting at range 2, just having that double mod there. Sure, you can line up that bullseye there, but there's just that potential for you to still have that double modded shot with that combo and still like do a one straight afterwards, and you don't have to be as aggressive, or you could just fly past and then set up a turnaround maneuver and get the target lock focus again. So I want to say that version is probably better than barrage rockets if you're thinking for objectives, but if you're looking for just simply, especially for salvage, just grab a crate and run away, then barrage rockets is probably the better option.
So I will heartily disagree with you in that aspect, but that's just me, because it doesn't matter. Objective basis doesn't matter. If you're not shooting the barrage rocket, it's the same thing. If you don't have the focus, you don't have a mod. So you're not getting a mod unless you're doing the one hard, and you're still only getting the mod, right? It's not the same thing. All right. So is there any other I4s that we want to highlight that are worthy of having a conversation? Like, I know I see Ember in the chat, but I just don't think Ember stands up. Like, are you going to take Ember over LeHughes? Like,
I have before.
But okay, are you in Worlds? Are you going to competitively in a competitive environment? Are you going to take Ember over LeHughes?
Honestly, it really depends on my list. I have done like a lot of taking Ember over LeHughes in many instances. I also like Ember. I like IBAs; they're cool. And sometimes, like, I don't need a jousting ship with LeHughes. I need more of a flanker with Ember, or I'm doing a lot of like not doing a lot of jams, so her ability actually like triggers semi consistently with just pushing damage through, even when they have focus tokens and stuff like that.
I mean, the one 4-point ship that I think that hasn't been used as much is Grudge, the IFO bomber. It's a 4-point ship, it has 15 loadout. It's still one of the very few ships in the entire game that can carry a proximity mine still, especially with the ability to boost during system phase and then drop that. It's still very good. Or if you still want to give yourself more points, you could do a cluster mine and still use the ability there. You could supplement that with thermal detonators or ion bombs. And still have room for an ordnance if you're doing ion bombs, or set yourself up with like I don't know, fanatical or feedback ping to give yourself a passive mod, and still help control portions of the board that way. I think it is still a viable chassis for that type of bombing, and you have different ways to set up its bombing run, particularly if you look at Midnight, giving Midnight Squad Leader and Biohack scripts. You can set yourself up to have Grudge Barrel into a position for the boost for the following shot, and you can be aggressive and get behind your opponent and set yourself up for a good run there that way. That is a 4-point option that you're not seeing very much of, and it's still very, very good. That system phase boost into dropping a mine, like a concussion, or sorry, a proximity mine or a cluster mine, is still very, very powerful. And you get the rerolls.
All right. Any other 4-point options that we've missed that we should talk about?
I mean, Backdraft isn't the worst, but that's really stretching for 4-point ships there.
All right.
I still think Phasma's still good too.
Yeah, Phasma's not bad either.
So, yeah,
but man, you have to be like making a 5-ship 4-point list to even get there.
Yeah, and I think it's just LeHughes having that higher initiative and having the ability to run barrage rockets is what really puts LeHughes over Phasma. Yeah.
All right, so then we have 3-point ships. So we talked a little bit about Midnight, so we probably don't need to cover Midnight. Midnight is a different I use Midnight a lot differently than a lot of people do. I like the targeting synchronizer Midnight with
Ordnance.
fanatical. No, you don't get any ordnance with Midnight.
No, I
Midnight
mean
gets
to set up ordnance
oh
for the
yes,
list. Yeah, yeah.
yes. So I personally like the targeting synchronizer and fanatical and proud tradition. That's kind of how I prefer to do it. It does not show up in terms of top loadouts though, so obviously I'm in the negative 4.5% here, baby. In loadouts, but this is I like this only for this is the sneaky piece that you could probably put other things in it still would be fine, but that's kind of the piece that like you could run it with the Kylo or the Malorus, um, and still have like I could take a focus with Malorus, or I could take a objective action with Malorus, and still be able to use that targeting synchronizer. But obviously the most popular is Crackshot Predator. So Alex, that's what you were running, correct? Crackshot Predator.
The Crackshot Predator, Crackshot Targeting Synchronizer, depending if I have like Instinctive Aim Kylo and Hughes in the list. Because using the Targeting Synchronizer saves you a force. And
this is telling us that Pattern Analyzer and Proud Tradition are the more better loadouts to take. I don't know. I don't like Swarm Tactics anymore. I will tell you that. I used to like that. I don't.
I mean, but it was an edge case too, right? Because normally you're using it just to bring up Nightfall?
Whirlwind.
Oh, Whirlwind, yeah, rather.
Yeah, like
and
typically.
If you're not carrying it, there's no point. Yeah.
I mean, there's been other lists that had like Midnight or Quick Draw Swarm Tactics that wasn't specifically a Whirlwind list, but that was very few and far between.
Yeah.
And I guess it likes Ember. I guess put Midnight and Ember together. Midnight and Ember love each other.
That's that squad or that Swarm Tactics there, right? You know, just helping out Ember.
All right. What other 3-pointers do we want to cover? So we don't really need to cover. We already talked about Malorus. We haven't talked.
Is interesting. Gaelic's popping up more. You've seen like HLC is semi-popular. Like Tractor Beam, we already went over. Ion Cannon seems to be the most popular. And it's like Ion Cannon Biohacks or Ion Cannon Marksmanship. And that's solid enough. Like DT and Scorch, they kind of play the same. You choose DT over Scorch because you leaves your dial open, and typically you just put Deuterium on there and you're fine. So
I have a question for Gallic. Yeah, so the HLC and the Ion Cannon are similar in loadout, but this Tractor Beam shows up a lot heavier. The question I have is Tractor Beam that much better than Ion Cannon? Like, and if you're gonna get rid of your Midnight and put Gallic in here, because you're not running Gallic over Mal, I don't think. Ever. But if you do it over Midnight, is the Tractor Beam because everybody's not an I5 more worth it?
Then I don't know. I wouldn't do Tractor Beam personally, mostly because I don't know. There's a fair amount of like medium large base ships and need to actually hit them a little bit more with that Tractor Beam in order to actually affect them. I would prefer straight damage from HLC more. Although the Ion Cannon can be pretty nice, just to ping 1 damage in there or possibly ionize.
Yeah,
like a Luke or something. Like that happened in the finals, Worlds, right? They had the Ion Cannon on Gaelic and it actually pinged off a target lock on someone.
Yeah, target lock. Yeah, that's right.
So,
all right, the last one that we have that I wanted to review is Scorch in the Bomber, and I'm only saying this because it's showing up, and I personally don't know if it's good. I just know that it's showing up.
The Scorch Bomber.
Yeah.
It's just that cheap. So it's essentially, if we were to like assign it a role, this would be essentially the 2-point filler in the list, essentially, even though it's 3 points. But I think that's how I tend to view this this particular chassis. I mean, it's going in with some cheap bomblets, some ordnance on there, and feedback ping. And if you set it up correctly, you can get a double modded shot for later on, especially if you have the other 3-point bomber in the list there. It does have some utility in that regards to at least offer some area control while still having an option for a 3-dice shot. Main issue is that even if you're flying it with mag pulse, you're doing it at I4, so it's not really the best to really take advantage of the jam that you could get off of somebody. It is pretty good for like salvage, knocking off crate, because you're likely shooting out against a ship that has no tokens at that point at I4. But still, it's harder for you to get that target lock, especially if you're like jousting against somebody. But still having that option for area control with bombs, still pretty good for the bomber.
Alex, is this a ship you'd run? You think this is a viable ship?
I absolutely hate Scorch. I'm just,
all right.
not a big Scorch kind of guy. I understand like where there's uses and niche part of lists. It's not my style, and I've like never played with the bombers. I mean, I've played. It's been a long time since I've actually played with the FL bombers, and it's not my style.
Look cool. They look cool.
They're really, really inconvenient on a board, though, because they are very, very wide, and my hands hit them constantly.
Or when they bump, they knock out everything.
I cannot maneuver my hands around the FL bombers.
All right. Anything else we want to talk about pilot-wise or squad-wise that we missed?
Over quick draw.
Okay, we'll go over quick draw.
Yeah,
a lot of quick draw.
I think I missed that.
Good.
Yeah. So I will attest to the fact that I used to run quick draw quite a bit. I like the quick draw whirlwind build, but I will tell you it is not the most efficient, and quick draw likes to die. That's just the way she is, I think. I think she just wants to die. So as you can see, the most popular one is Malorus, Midnight, LaHughes, Quick Draw, Kylo. Obviously it's a 5-point ship, so it's an easy sub out, right? Like you could sub it out for Kylo. I don't think you should, but you could technically sub it out for Kylo and put another 5-point ship. You could put Von Reg in that list and have 3 I6s and 2 I5s. And I guess I don't know. This is what we don't know. We don't know with the current meta when Empire starts having a million I6s. Do we need to have I6s to counteract those or not? My feeling is no, per se, that like I don't think we're going to see a lot of triple I6 lists personally. But it is something that we do have to be concerned about. And I will say Jendin, we haven't gotten to Empire yet, but Jendin is definitely a contender for discussion, right? Like Jendin is Jendin, and Jendin can nuke or just die, one of the two,
Yeah,
it's a defender that you don't want to see. And if like quick draw, I don't know, can quick draw get out of Jendin's way? I don't think so. I think Jendin moves better than quick draw, but you don't have to spend a shield. Right? You don't have to spend a shield like Jendin does. You don't get to spend your shield to get a double tap. You just got to get shot at.
You don't have to spend your shield, period, if you're Jendin.
Yeah.
People
you don't have to.
Doing it for some reason, but
because it's fun to roll. It's fun to roll a double modded proton cannon shot, Alex. I'm telling you right now.
I just did that with Ray. Every turn.
That's
you can't roll 5 dice with Ray.
Yeah. Well, I'm sorry. I'm putting 1 down.
There you
I'm
go.
only rolling 4. And then adding 1.
I mean, you could, right? If you roll natties with the 4 and then just add the fin,
oh my God.
and then Ray force it for 5 hits. I mean, it's basically APT right there.
I mean, you just take the lock to begin with, and then you just ruin things with 5 dice with Ray. I've been doing that for years.
We will discuss when we get to resistance. We'll have that conversation. Let's stick with quick draw. What draws your attention to quick draw that we need to cover, Alex? Is it a loadout thing? It's not really a squad mate thing.
Yeah, I mean, if you're not running the whirlwind quick draw list, what else are you doing with quick draw? Right? It seems like what you should be doing is fanatical FCS shield upgrade, which seems solid, but that's negative in terms of performance. So then it's like, well, fanatical FCS pattern analyzer proud is pretty popular too. Deuterium, fanatical FCS proud. It's just, man,
So
proud
yeah,
is tough.
yeah, like I've always been on the fence about the Turium on quick draw, right? Because you almost forced to always um, use both charges, right? Because you never want to just spend a single charge and then risk getting shot at and losing the shield without being able to retaliate back, right? Um, but at the same time, that leaves quick draw stressed. So unless you have a good way to clear that stress and be in an advantageous spot where you can really take advantage of a double tap. Um, I'm always on the fence about putting the Turium on quick draw.
Yeah, I don't like afterburners, which is the one that shows up at the top. I'm a little confused. I get why you would want to be able to boost twice a game, and maybe your quick draw only lives to be able to boost twice a game. Maybe that's what it is. Because my quick draw, you got to live very long when I'm spending 8 points on afterburners. I don't know. I guess you can maneuver out of the way, focus, rotate. I don't know.
Like to me, that would make sense if you could still put on like pattern analyzer, right, along with afterburners, right? Because you could do the three sloop and boost in and stuff, but that only leaves you 4 points, and at that point, you're doing what proud and fanatical, or like that's about it,
They
right?
have proud and fire control.
Oh
I,
yeah, proud and
I
fire control. Yeah.
Yep. And I will say, if you're going to run pattern analyzer elusive, is an option.
Oh yeah.
But again, I will be honest with you. Like, I did run that without the whirlwind piece, and I will say that, like, I mean, yeah, it's fun to be able to like get your elusive back, but I will forewarn you, like, you know how many times like you still really can't do it that often, and you're still putting yourself in harm's way to some extent. You're still easily die. Yeah, I don't know. I don't feel elusive is because it's not a guaranteed. It's just re-roll a dice.
Yeah.
I have found that Lahuse for one initiative less and 1 point less is a million times more effective than my quick draw was, because what I found is people just go, I'm going to go in on quick draw. So I either have to separate my quick draw to the side of the board to let them all go in. Like, that's what I have. You have to use quick draw as a flanker. Otherwise, if you put it in like a box or put it next to other, they're not going to shoot your other ship. They're going to shoot quick draw because quick draw's got 2 green dice. You can burn quick draw. I mean, you get 1 elusive, right? And then you get a second elusive if you do a hard 1. But you're still going to die. Like, they just fire focus and quick draw dies. I can't even tell you how many times I've lost quick draw to 3 shots.
Yeah.
And
I mean,
been really pissed off.
I guess that's what the afterburners is for, right? Like play quick draw as that flanker, so that way if they ignore him, he can boost in, on a 5 straight or something, and then that we could start punishing that way. I can see the reason why now, but yeah, you're right. Like if you start putting quick draw in anything more than like 1 or 2 arcs, at that point you're going to lose quick draw's ability really fast, and then he just becomes an I6 TIE fighter or with one less agility.
Yeah. Alex, anything else about quick draw?
Rush is also the same amount of points.
Yeah. Well, you like quick draw better, I heard. That's what I heard.
Yikes.
Anything else for first order?
No, that's it.
Alex, anything else from you for first order?
Not anything super pressing.
Okay, anything else we should be discussing before Worlds? That's what I'm asking.
Well, I gotta say, I was gonna say, with the arrival of the Battle Vendor pilots, Jam is even more and more crucial for FO to have in their list, because those Battle Vendor pilots do have the ability to get pretty good mods. You take a look at the Empire. If you look at those TIE defenders, being able to jam them early to prevent them from having a focus or a target lock really hampers their offense and their defense. Not being able to have double tokens like they used to. That's a really, really good way to neuter those offenses. So having a jam early on can really help you save your ships from being absolutely crushed from a double-modded shot from those defenders, and you're forcing your opponent to either stay conservative and keep the focus for defense, or be aggressive and risk flanking out on defense, which really hampers the life expectancy of those TIE defenders, or even those new TIE interceptors as well. So if you're flying First Order, you're flying to for Worlds, definitely consider having a jammer in your list, if not two, so that way you can really take advantage of just denying those mods for those ships.
Do we feel First Order has contention for Worlds? Do we feel that it's actually worth taking First Order, or is the other factions just going to do better? Alex?
I think First Order is a really good faction, and people who play First Order, if they do it well, they're going to go pretty far. Then they do really, really well. It just takes a little bit of practice and patience, ironically.
Which only Kylo can take. Only Kylo can have patience. All right. Well, let's wrap it up tonight. We've gone way over time. Thank you all so much for joining us on our journey through the First Order breakdown. Next week, we will be talking about, Alex, do you want to do Republic or Resistance?
I don't care. We can do
all right, JJ. All right, we're doing Resistance next week. So next week we got Resistance on the table. And we're going to be covering Sith Taker Open as well as Resistance. And if we have to, we're going to split the first Sith Taker Open. If there's enough data, we might split that into 2 episodes. So just as an FYI, there is a possibility we may actually split that, because I want to 100% ensure that we get through the Resistance next week as well. With that being said, thank you all for joining us tonight. We will be back next week, 9 p.m. Eastern, 2100 UTC, or 2100 Eastern, or 0100 UTC. Thank you all. Have a good night, and we'll see you on the Flippity Flop.
Have a good night, everybody.